My name is Peter, and I will be responding to Karan's claim that student loans negatively affect the student population. His three secondary claims are that student loans negatively affect unqualified students who confuse the availability of support with college readiness. Two, being student loans negatively affect tuition rates for all students. And three, being student loans negatively affect the value of college degrees. In his first claim that student loans make students confused that if they're able to pay for college, they think they're ready for college. However, his evidence has no mentioning of student loans. He only mentions that students have a high school diploma, and he also mentions that the students who go to college with only a high school diploma thinking they're ready waste their time and money. But according to APM reports, being in college was a good thing for students even if they didn't graduate. They are having a good experience, they are maturing, they're meeting other people, their self-esteem has built up, and they are they better themselves in many good ways. If they're bettering themselves in many good ways, that means they're not wasting their time and money. In his second claim that student loans increase the tuition rates for all other students, I couldn't find any evidence that goes against this, but my counterclaim is that if the tuition increases, it'll cause the students to become more considerate and careful about whether they think they're actually ready for college or not. And I found a quote online by a political science professor at South Connecticut State University saying there are certain basic skills you have to have before you can do higher order learning. If you come to my class and you can't read, I can't get you to learn the material. Also, in a previous quote that you mentioned that 4 in 10 college students end up in developmental math and English classes, which is not good. Also, for the third and final claim, you mentioned that student loans causes more people to earn a certain degree, which decreases the value of that certain degree, which is true, because I couldn't find any evidence that disproves this. However, I found evidence online that says that it is still better to have a degree than only have a high school diploma. And according to the U.S. Department of Education's National Center for Education Statistics, a study done in 2015 states that adults with a bachelor's degree took home more than those with high school diplomas. Degree holders earned an average of $48,500 a year, while diploma holders earned less than $30,000. They earned $23,900. Also, another counterclaim to this is that if the value of a certain degree goes down, it opens up more options for them to go to trade schools and learn certain skills that they rather are more interested in. For example, I found information online that says people who go to trade schools to learn certain skills only pay a third of the price, around $33,000 for 2 years of learning, than the average 4 years for a bachelor degree, which costs around $127,000. In the end, I have concluded that student loans have more of a positive impact on the student population than a negative one.
All right, Peter, I think you sell yourself short in a couple of spots. I think you've got some good arguments on individual points, but you kind of are conceding the position to the advocate at times, and I'm not exactly sure why you're doing that. On the first point, you do suggest that the advocate didn't present any statistical information on this particular argument, and then you kind of get into this discussion about whether or not they are prepared to begin with, and you say it's not good that they get into these other kinds of programs. That data is actually on the second point. I did like the quote that you had, though, the good counterclaim here that says, even if they don't graduate, there is some utility in doing this. That's a good argument that suggests, now whether or not it's worth the whatever the loan is that they've taken, I don't know. One of the things I think you need to do is kind of diminish the significance of the loans and put them in context. How much does the average person owe on a loan? We might make some comparable sorts of things, talking about what other things they might have spent that money on instead of, and suggest that this is actually a better value. Because let's face it, if you have $30,000 in debt for going to college, even if you didn't get a degree, but you got some substantial advantages there, well, the alternative is, what would you have spent that $30,000 on? You might have bought a car, which is more valuable to you in the long run, having the car or having that experience or the knowledge that you gain in that situation. I think you could make an argument on that, and you've got the right idea here, but you kind of back away from that a little bit. On the second point, you just sort of say, well, I couldn't find any evidence on this particular point, so I guess that's an issue. I think there's probably some general arguments about education and financing that you could be making here. For example, that we continuously add financial aid at most schools. There are more scholarships available than have ever been available before. That there are lots of access for people that doesn't require them to take out these loans, and especially the people who are the least prepared. They're the ones who are going to, if they do take out loans, they're probably the ones who are going to be spending the least amount of money on those loans, because they'll be going to the schools that are more likely to give them assistance on those things. Nobody who is going to be in remedial math or English is going to be going to a school that's paying, that they're paying $50,000 a year for. They might be going to a school that they'd be paying substantially less for. So I think that there are some general arguments that you can make on this point, and you just kind of dance around it. On the third point, I thought you had a really good counterclaim on this point, but you kind of say, well, the advocate's position on this is true. Your answer should be not that, well, of course, the more of you have of something, the less value there is on that. In essence, I guess that's a basic economic fact. It's less valuable if it's less scarce. That's certainly true, but that doesn't mean that it isn't valuable, and that's the counter argument that I thought that you did the best on, suggesting that there is good value there. So on the first and the third point, you've got good counterclaims. On the second point, you just seem to be conceding stuff, and I think there are probably arguments that you can make. The best part, though, is that I thought at the end of the speech you had a good exit line summarizing the position that you were taking. All right, thank you.